experiential educator. Dr. Dheeraj Mehrotra has authored over 100 books on topics which include computer science, artificial intelligence, digital body language, NLP, quality circles, school management, classroom effectiveness, safety and security in the schools. Dr. Mehrotra is the President's Award winner, India's National Teachers Award in the year 2006, and the Best Science Teacher State Award by Ministry of Science and Technology, State of UP. Innovation in Education for his inception of Six Sigma in education. He has developed over 150 free educational mobile apps for the Google Play Store exclusively for teachers and parents. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Okay. His work has been recognized by the Limca Book of Records and India Book of Records as the only Indian to draw that feat. Dr. Mehrotra works as a principal at Commerce Global School, Lucknow, and he has about 1,000 workshops globally on excellence in education, integrated with total quality management and Six Sigma. He's an active TEDx speaker and can be viewed on the YouTube TEDx channel. So, Dr. Dheeraj Mehrotra, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much, and thank you, Lucknow Management Association, for making it a possibility for me to share some of the views on the topic today. And the topic today talks about digital minimalism, which is a word which talks about the probability of our dependence on digital preface, which we have. And that digital preface has become a part of our lives. But how much is good enough to be digital dependent is what we are going to discuss today. And that is what is how much is good enough is what minimalism is all about. So without wasting much of time, I would like to share my slides, and I look forward to some takeaway from here for all you people around. It is a general preface which I will be discussing. It is not at all something like I'm going to talk about a rocket science or something. It is a common concept about how much are we affected and how much are we going to be figuratively being a part of our digital life and the very routine of it. So digital minimalism, when we discuss, it orients ourselves about our dependence on how best we are going to be integrating our learning and working with the march of time. And for that preference, we need to be aware of all the formats of our connectivity, which very well reflect in our lives, right from the morning get up to the evening good night. We need to understand that how much digitally connected we are and how much is good enough to be connected. So my debate would be somewhat relative to the very sense of connectivity and how we conduct our digital connect, like whether we keep things on my desktop or I keep things in my folders. how well I am dependent on my devices, whether it is pen drive or a Google Drive. Now, with pen drive, I mean physically, I carry my hard disk wherever I go, or if it is a digital connect, cloud connect, I always keep things in the cloud. So anytime, every time I need to browse any file of mine, I can do it anywhere around the world through my Google Drive or iCloud or something. So this is what is the connect and the format of the learning and working today. And for that reference, we need to be clear to the context, like how this term comes with the very reflection of making things a possibility. Well, friends, digital minimalism applies the idea to our personal technology, how we have rooted ourselves to the very connect of the digital world. And it is the key to living a focused life in an increasingly noisy world. So, of course, when we say that, and at times we forget our phone, it seems like we can't breathe, Had there been a WhatsApp message or a notification or to my mail I was waiting for. So it is somewhat affecting our lives. And the better way is the smart way of doing things. And for that reason, first of all, I'll showcase a video here which talks about understanding the term digital minimalism.
In his book Digital Minimalism, Cal Newport makes the case for being more intentional about the technologies that you allow into your life. In this video, I'd like to sketch out some of my favorite ideas from that book, and then share how I'm applying them both in my personal and professional life. The book is broken down into two sections. First, foundations, and then practices. On the foundational side, Newport outlines how technology
Cal Newport was the person who coined this word, digital minimalism, and he even wrote this book. And this is a video which takes some extracts out of it and makes it clear about the concept.
Technology is not neutral. In particular, the software that we use has been carefully engineered to create behavioral addictions that lead to more eyeballs on the screen and therefore more money in the pockets of big tech companies. As users, what this can feel like every time we whip out our phone and refresh whatever social media app you visit most often, the reason that's so enticing is that we're gambling for likes. We want to see the reactions to our most recent post. And while there might be the slightest dopamine hit when we do see those likes or positive comments, it's a pretty dangerous game that we're playing with our overall emotional well-being. Because no matter how many likes we get or how many positive comments there are, that good feeling never really rises up to the bar that we'd like it to. And it's also quite fleeting, disappearing within minutes, causing you to want to check it again, hoping that new likes have rolled in. This relationship to technology is not healthy, which is what prompted Newport to explore how to combat it. And what he came up with was a philosophy of digital minimalism, which he describes as a philosophy of technology use in which you focus your online time on a small number of carefully selected and optimized activities that strongly support things you value, and then happily miss out on everything else. He contrasts this minimalist approach to a maximalist approach. On that maximalist side, the approach is to adopt any new technology so long as it provides even a tiny benefit to your life. The problem with that, as Newport points out, is that if we only look at the benefits, we might be neglecting the significant cost that comes along with the adoption of that particular technology. So instead of that approach of any potential benefit being enough, Newport proposes the minimalist approach, where you recognize that life is short. You only have so much time and attention, and therefore any amount of clutter in your life is very costly. Here he quotes Thoreau, who said that the cost of a thing is the amount of what I will call life is required to be exchanged for it, immediately or in the long run. So how much life are you giving up in order to reap the particular benefit of any given technology? Another important component of this minimalist approach is optimization. So it's not just if you'll use a particular technology, but also how you'll use it. So take Netflix, for example. It's not just a matter of whether you watch Netflix or you don't. If you choose to bring Netflix into your life, you you might add the optimization of not ever watching Netflix alone. So you still get to enjoy your favorite shows, but only with other people. That removes the temptation entirely of binging a whole series completely on your own and then regretting it later. And then a third important piece to this minimalist philosophy is the fact that intentionality is satisfying. It feels good to move in the direction of your values, as opposed to always just falling back on convenience. And to get a taste for what the life of a digital minimalist would feel like, Newport encourages you to take on a digital declutter, a 30-day break from optional technologies. Before you do that, though, it's important to plan out replacements. Decide what you will do instead of scrolling Instagram for 45 minutes every day, or instead of watching Netflix for 2 hours every night. And that's where the practices come in. The first practice that Newport describes is in response to one particular effect of heavy social media use, and that's solitude deprivation. Because of all of the ways that we can connect with other people on our phone, a device that you always have with you, that creates the condition where it's entirely possible to completely banish solitude from your life. And it's that deprivation of solitude that contributes to the sharp rise in anxiety and depression that we've seen. The countermeasure to that solitude deprivation is pretty straightforward. Spend time alone. Newport encourages you to take long walks, not with your phone out, not with your headphones on, listening to a new podcast, but simply being with your own thoughts. Because solitude is this state where your mind is free from input of other minds, which is quite refreshing these days. You can use that time to think through a professional problem, maybe do some self-reflection on a particular aspect of your life, or do what Newport calls gratitude walks. Just enjoying nice weather and whatever scenery surrounds you. And paradoxically, that solitude is likely to make you appreciate human connection when you get back to it. But the type of connection that you get back to is actually pretty important. In fact, Newport makes a distinction between connection, the ability to see what someone else has posted and react to those posts, and conversation, real time, face to face, hearing someone else's voice. The connection that occurs through social media doesn't actually do much to maintain a relationship because of how low bandwidth it is, compared to real conversations where you're drawing from facial expressions and tone of voice. That's high bandwidth communication that actually does count toward maintaining a relationship. So in that way, social media is kind of the worst of both worlds. You create this state of solitude deprivation, while at the same time connecting with others in a way that doesn't actually support any relationships, not in a meaningful way. So one practice that Newport encourages is to hold conversation office hours. Identify a recurring space in your schedule to chat with other people. If you've got a long commute home, let your friends know that that's a good time to give you a call, or initiate those calls yourself. Or maybe spend an evening or a weekend morning always at a particular coffee shop and reach out to friends encouraging them to join you there. And finally, the last push that Newport makes is an encouragement to seek out high-quality leisure, maybe by identifying a specific craft that you'd like to get good at, even and especially when that's a demanding activity. And in fact, there's the encouragement here to prioritize those demanding activities over passive consumption, because that energy you expend on high-quality leisure can actually energize you even more. So whether that's taking up woodworking, or becoming handy around the house, or taking up weaving, find a craft that allows you to make something in the physical world. And then another category of high quality leisure is what Newport calls supercharged socializing. This could be something like gathering friends together for a card or board game, or even joining a recreational sports league. The key here for this supercharged socializing is to seek out activities that require real-world, structured social interactions. It's the structure of a board game or a particular sport that takes pressure off of how you will socialize and makes it easier to enjoy the time you spend with other people. So with that as an overview of some of the key ideas, let me next share with you how I've been applying them to my life. Here's a quick sketch that I made for myself when I was deciding what I wanted my digital declutter to look like, with the idea of the declutter not being a thing that you only do for 30 days, but rather this experiment that you take on to decide what you want to carry with you after those 30 days. I'll point out two of the most impactful pieces of my plan. One was taking on that example that I already shared of not watching Netflix alone. And specifically, my wife and I have identified just 2 evenings each week that we'll watch Netflix or any other streaming service. That's what Friday and Saturday nights are for, unless we're doing some other social activity, which, with a couple of babies in the house, doesn't happen all that often these days. Instead of defaulting to watching Netflix after dinner every night, we now have a game night set aside on Tuesdays, and then the other nights of the week we spend reading, which is related to the other most impactful part of my plan here, totally removing YouTube, podcast, and Twitter consumption from my life. Even though I've been off of social media for a while, I still had the tendency to check a couple of Twitter accounts regularly, and then was a very frequent viewer of YouTube and often listened to podcasts. And while those aren't inherently bad sources of media, I found that I enjoy the process of reading books so much more, specifically physical books that I can mark up while reading, like I did with Digital Minimalism that supported the creation of that visual summary that I just shared. So rather than filling any little bit of downtime by watching a YouTube video or listening to a bit of a podcast, I've always got a few books on hand that I can pick up and continue reading. And what I've noticed is how good I feel after spending even just 20 minutes reading a book, compared to how I would often feel after watching 20 minutes of YouTube or listening to a bit of a podcast or browsing Twitter. Those activities often either raised my anxiety level or brought up unhealthy comparisons or reminded me of a bunch of things that I feel like I should be doing that I'm not. The experience of reading a physical book and the pace of that media consumption hits a sweet spot for me. And I'm now long past the 30 days of dedicated digital declutter, and I have no desire to look back. So I hope these examples here show you how you might implement some of the core principles of digital minimalism. There are plenty of other examples that you will find within the book, along with a bunch of practices that I didn't have time to mention here, but I hope that you enjoyed this visual summary.
Okay,
if you like
so
how
when
I've sketched
we
out...
consider working online, there are many ways of getting connected. And as we can very well see through this creative, which was shown earlier, it is out of the book, which was depicted as one of the narratives. So here comes an explanation of what is digital minimalism, understand. Of course, the question comes before us, what is digital minimalism? Well, to be a digital minimalist or digital minimalist, we need to occupy the spectrum of understanding. We need to also rehearse our working with communication as a potential to improve our lives, with the spectrum of how best I'm getting exhausted to working large capsules of dedicated hours, and also I'm trying to give up, or probably they say checking and likes and dislikes. Well, we need to try to explore how best, as defined by the researchers, it talks about the very significance of how best I'm going to limit myself of understanding and learning. It also refers and defines with the new structure format of exploring the world of connectivity with the very emphasis on understanding. The concept of digital minimalism is above all about being intentional with our use of technology, and it's good that we embrace it with the march of time, with a limited format of defined structure, with simplification of our online life. As a spectrum, we are used to of Steve Jobs unveiling the iPhones, along with the App Store, marking the beginning of the mobile revolution. Not much later, Amazon introduced the Kindle, and then, of course, it made man digital.
with the march of time and over years and years with digital media usage is up to 40% since
Hello.
2013, and smartphone usage has doubled in the last 2 years. Probably the data may say 1 year as well. The reflection talks about the minimalism as the only mindful act towards getting aware about how mindful we are around our technology usage. The life changing magic of tidying up, a book about cleaning, simplifying, and organizing, has brought this aspect about minimalism into mainstream with the march of time. And for sure, it is as a part of the minimalism. Digital minimalism embraces the philosophy to be intentional with our use of technology. Carl Newport defined this word digital minimalism as a philosophy that helps you question that digital communication tools and behaviors surrounding these tools add the most value to your life. It is motivated by the belief that intentionally and aggressively clearing away low value digital noise and optimizing your use of the tools that really matter can significantly improve your life. Well, the question lies as an add on, why the fuss? Why out of the blue we are talking about being digital minimalist or minimalist? Well, it talks about the scenario, it talks about our connect with the scenario, and it also talks about choosing a focused life in a noisy world with reflection on how best I'm going to be specific in my usage, for it deviates. It also explores and becomes the dynamic distractor to our work analysis. Well, as per the productivity by Nick Wignall in Guides, Nick Wignall writes about in one of his blogs with a version of minimalism called digital minimalism is rising to prominence as our lives become increasingly tech centric. He further comments that personal technology like smartphones and tablets are enabling us to spend more and more time online. And as we do so, many of us are starting to feel uneasy about this persistent digital creep, that steady march of gadgets and tech into every aspect of our lives. With the march of time, this defines in general about the minimalism which is a requisite now. Hence, it is high time for all of us to explore this context. Well, Josh Milburn and Ryan Nicodemus, two bloggers, are largely credited with kickstarting the current minimalist movement,
Neeraj, your slides
define
are not
it
moving.
as a lifestyle that helps people question what things add value to their lives.
I'm making use of that only. It is not moving, sir.
Okay, okay.
And then when we get to the fact, there comes the priority about what and why of being a digital minimalist. We saw the video which talked about the features of being a digital user, but again, the dependency which has been brought automatically, I would say, unconsciously, has to be taken a new revisit. And that is how we need to come to the very understanding of the notion of digital minimalism. And for that understanding, there comes the very flavor of how best we are going to be aware of our dependency. Every moment, every click, or every movement of the needle of the second, we think about our dependency on technology. And that is the reason we need to look forward now about how best, as the probabilities were shown on the slides earlier with that video, it expressed about the probable ways of getting engaged. You can go for a walk, you can do some physical activity, or maybe you can watch TV, but not Netflix, because Netflix doesn't end. And we are getting used to of that process of an unending process, because if I watch a particular serial, that serial continues. And it can be overnight also, we can continuously watch, because once one episode ends, the other continues. It is more like a robotic preface, like I program myself to that watch, and then continuously it is observed and showcased. So we need to discuss, we need to talk about it, we need to hunt about the probables of how best we are going to be understanding this concept and making it a priority. When we talk about the tips, as discussed in that video again, I appreciate that one has to track the time online for all what we have been engaged at. We need to turn off the notifications, because notifications will keep on coming every second. So if we are not turning off our notifications, what happens is that the distraction continues, and not only it is distracting us, but also the other members of the family or the office people, the colleagues around. We need to delete the unwanted photos. We need to use the cloud for storage so that we are not dependent on other devices. We need to delete the apps which we are not using. So this is again one of the forms and tips to utilize the digital minimalism. Then have fewer folders. Folders need to be limited on our desktop, because otherwise it is all messed up. Then, of course, we need to believe in installing the updates. We need to keep our software updated so that many things, features which are there otherwise because of XYZ apps should be limited. And you need to be creative in that very movement. As we know, this is the simple format of encouraging ourselves to be better connected with the world, and also at the same time with the real world. And we need to participate and practice the digital minimalism, which is not at all a difficult concept for sure. And track the online time is what I mentioned earlier. We need to understand about having the files which are searchable. We need to delete the unwanted mails, the junk folders, the temp files, delete the subscriptions, because the subscribed mail or subscribed connects will always keep on disturbing you, whether it is a subscription for a YouTube channel or for a newspaper, or for, because it's better that you have a proper dose of an app. You go and buy that app for XYZ amount and then try to use that app to the best. Otherwise, if you are not getting just subscription for a notification, is a headache. and try to unfollow, because if you follow them, you'll keep on getting unnecessary facts and figures and references. Close the tabs, don't let them open, because at times on our phones we tend to do so many things and all the tabs are open. So that is again a type of an irritation. Put your devices in a different room. If you're sleeping in one room, you should keep it on in the other room, so that you are comfortably sleeping, and nothing is going to happen if you don't check your mail. Come on, nothing will happen if you don't receive a call. Heavens will not fall off. So there is always an intentional process, and people know you are sleeping at this hour. And have a tech-free day. Tech-free day, we have Sunday. That everyone knows Sunday is a day where you ease yourself, comfort yourself. And now we have Saturdays also. Now many companies have started only 5 days week. But do we ever think of a quality day, or no tech day, or a tech-free day? So that can be one of the means wherein we can, practice some quality living. And of course, declutter regularly. That's what that gentleman was showcasing, that he used to declutter his things on the table. So is on the digital devices. Try uninstalling the app which you are not using at all. Unnecessary, it's taking your space in the sense your desktop or your mobile screen. Close old accounts which are not in use, especially we tend to follow so many email IDs and even accounts. We have multiple Facebook account or social media accounts. So what is the fun? Just try to have one. And unnecessary, you are connected to people with different IDs and you hardly go and put any updates. So pick one or two social media platforms. If you're there on LinkedIn, be there on LinkedIn. If you're there on Facebook, be there on Facebook. Try to upgrade yourself every day with some post or the other, but not on all cluttered way. And then that's what we have been telling our students also, to, of course, limit your screen time. That is so very important. And detoxing the utility of getting a brick phone probably is one of the ways I've heard about, that I use my flip phone when I'm out and use my smartphone if I need at home. So that phone is actually, when it's a bigger one, it's available with the connectivity. And then, of course, write down all your passwords, because at times we tend to forget our passwords and relate to making a new ID or trying to retrieve the password. So better is you write down somewhere in a notepad or something, or maybe digitally. You have virtual notepads, so you can write it there. And whenever you tend to reflect on that, please make sure that you go and have your passwords, but don't try to recover your password every time you're going to utilize that app. So this is quite idiotic. And then, yes, as was mentioned in the earlier challenged approach, that try to do physical exercises rather than just be monitoring on that. And then tracking how much time you spend online, and start checking your mails once a day. Delete unwanted paid subscriptions. And for sure, the list is many, but certainly we need to understand of that aspect. And with that, I relate to stop here and request some questions, if any, for better understanding of the topic. And since it relates to everybody, nearly, we need to be getting forward to conscious or be conscious on right usage of technology, so that we are not distracted and we are not preoccupied with the digital preferences, so that we lose on our friendship, we lose on our family responsibility. And that is happening actually. We have seen live that the parents, since I belong to the school community, the parents are more reflected towards answering their roll calls over the comments and the necessities, rather than spending some quality time with their children at home. So this is one such scenario where I would like to share my inputs today. And thank you very much, LMA, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, and have a wonderful day ahead.
So any questions? Uh, Didn't you, I think the video talked about the digital relationship,
Yes.
communication. It's better to have a physical communication rather than digital. Uh, does this Zoom meeting come in that category?
No, Zoom
Because
meeting
it is face to face.
a Zoom meeting is a connect. Now, like for today, we are having is for a reason that we wanted to have people beyond Lucknow and beyond the country. But for a reason, we need to understand. So Zoom meeting is just like making a phone call or utilizing the power of technology. It is not at all distraction, but for sure, if you are bound to usage of everyday Zooming, that would be, a little distracting.
Yeah, but you can see the other person, you can see the movement,
Yes,
but
I
you can't
agree with
hear.
you. It is one of the applications. For sure, it is one of the applications, but the over usage and the that I think the over usage should not be done. That with everyone I'm using, instead of going and meeting your friend, you're telling him to come on Zoom. That's what the children are doing these days, There is no physical connect, there is no physical movement. They want to have friendship instead of coming to the park and playing or having a combined study. They are just chatting over and coming to the virtual connect, and with the comfort of their drawing room and living room, they are just over each other, like connected with a group of friends. So that should not happen. Instead, the physical exercise and the physical being and going out, breathing the fresh air. So that should not be over and above. COVID was a challenge which limited the use of movement. Henceforth, Zoom came into effect.
Then you suggested saving the passwords online or somewhere,
Oh, storing it
digital,
somewhere. Yeah,
storing
storing
it.
it somewhere. Yeah.
So,
Because otherwise we tend to forget,
but
no?
if you that's okay. I mean, noting down on a notepad is okay,
Yeah.
but putting it on your computer, I mean, it
Yes,
lag.
that might be harmful, because when your computer gets affected with the virus, then the data of your computer can be shared. But you should be smart enough to, store it in a way that people don't understand it's a password. You have to be smart enough to handle your data. You just can't write my password for Hotmail is this, my password for my bank account of ICICI is this. You have to shorten it and you have to make it smart, so that you only can understand what you have written, and that's the smart way of managing data. Like people generally store their pins, bank pins on their mobile phones also, I've seen, as their phone numbers. So that's the smartest way of with their coding and naming. And this is in practice. So I don't say that completely you put your data online, or maybe some people I've seen, they send it across an email and the file remains there in the mail. And that file is actually the list of passwords in different format. So this is again one of the smart way. I won't say smart again, because the hackers are very smart, over smart. So yes, you're very right, sir, that we have to be very, very particular in keeping and handling our data.
I
Any
think so.
questions?
In this
Yeah.
today's scenario, both digital minimalization has both pro and cons. So
Yes,
we are affected all for
very
this.
true. Very true.
Any questions? Any participants want to ask any question? I think so. Nobody is. Yeah.
Hello, sir. Good evening. G.K. Garwal here.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
How are you, sir? All well?
Fine. Tell me. Tell me. Yes.
It's great to see you on this platform after such a long time. And of course, how we can keep ourselves away from these devices because all the time we are involved in it. So the view shared by you, like how we can keep away and our password saved and all this. Apart from it, there is any such tip by which, like every time we have to be on WhatsApp and a principal is expected to reply every WhatsApp message which is coming. Otherwise, like it's too late. Every time there are certain teachers, certain department heads, COEs, and so many different groups. There are messages. So, is there any way out, and how we can expect our teachers also? Because sometimes, as principal, you feel that why this message has been replied so late. Any strategy on this? How it can be handled
See, instead of
easily and
yes, instead of reacting to it instantly, I think there's a high time that you can start delegating somebody who can check instead of you checking it. So you can give your phone to some assistant or somebody, and otherwise you cannot deliver your 100%. You have to take rounds also. You have to take meetings also. So if it is keep on coming, I think you'll be more like a mobile phone operator rather than an head of an organization doing your job the best way possible. So it's always good that for some time you hand over the phone. You think that you are in a meeting, so you hand it over to some assistant or somebody, some colleague who can manage and revert. I think there's an option on WhatsApp also that you reply back, auto reply. So auto reply can be made, and then of course when after half an hour, 10 minutes, when you do your job, you come back and then you can revisit on that and answer them if they are so very important instantly further. So you have
okay.
to divide your time and be smart enough to handle these situations. Yeah, thank you. Haan, Sharma ji.
Hi, good evening, and thank you very much for the detailed session on today digital minimalization. I see when after
It will be a good idea if you can introduce yourself.
yeah, okay. I am Rajesh Sharma. I am working as assistant vice president with Reliance Jio, and I am into
Okay.
the telecommunication sector from last 2.5 decades.
Okay. Ajay, before you ask your question,
Yeah.
let me ask you: will it be okay if we organize a meeting on 5G? Or so, would you be interested to speak on this subject?
Yeah, right. Certainly, I think we need to actually, since 5G is the new thing which is coming up, and we have also launched through the welcome offer in the Varanasi city, and Lucknow is also very soon that is going to be covering up. And we'll certainly give you maybe either myself or some expert who is from the technical side exclusively can explain to this. So I will connect with Renuji, and then maybe we'll plan something. Certainly,
If
it
you
will
can,
be very.
if you can share your number and connect with her, you have her phone number, Renu's
Yeah,
phone
yeah,
number.
yes, I have
Okay.
a number. I have a number.
So,
Yes.
and she also has yours, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir,
Uh,
I'm having.
okay. So you fix up with Mr. Sharma, and we can organize not a webinar, but we can have a physical meeting.
Yeah. Can be done. Can be done.
Oh,
Will come.
so sorry, Mr. Sharma, to interrupt. You can
No,
go ahead.
no problem. I was just first of all thanking Dr. Dheeraj for actually touching this very the topic which is extremely the need of our. And in fact, I see this is not need for us, but this is for the children also. My son who studies in 12th class, I used to tell him कि अभी उसको बहुत समझाया. Then after that उसने कुछ टाइम के लिए वो बटन वाला फोन लिया है, because otherwise there is a distraction. I used to call it as a distraction. Since I'm into telecommunication, I have switched off all the notifications. There is no notification on my phone, whether WhatsApp, everything, only the normal SMS, and that too because it has a link with the net banking and all. only normal SMS is on, otherwise all notifications are off. But I think the few tips which I have picked up from this, especially digital declutter kind of thing, and choosing a focused life, especially how to do the practicing the things. कि आज की डेट में even I used to, I'll give you example. मैं सुबह अखबार पढ़ता हूँ, कई बार देखता हूँ ये खबर ढंग की नहीं है, चलो यार फोटो खींच के ट्वीट कर दो यार, वो then when you go to Twitter, then it takes you another 10-15 minutes by ये वो like कर दो, dislike कर दो. That is the thing which I learned today, that we need to stop it. या वो मैं क्या कर लूंगा, मतलब ट्वीट कर दूंगा तो प्रधानमंत्री जी मेरे लिए थोड़ी बैठे हो मेरे एक सिंगल ट्वीट को देखने के लिए. बट यस ठीक है, वो उसके लिए अलग टाइम होना चाहिए. स्पेसिफिकली लाइक यू सेड ना, फिक्स कर दें, जैसे मंगलवार या आई थिंक उन्होंने नेटफ्लिक्स के लिए 2 days फिक्स कर दिए, तो आप वो फिक्स कर लो कि भाई दिन में 10 मिनट बस इस टाइम देखना, दैट्स ऑल, उसको नहीं देखना है.
Very
So I
true.
think this is going to be change our. We'll certainly going to practice the things, especially the supercharging conversation and interaction with the teams. That I think human interaction should involve. That is going to detoxify us. Thank you very much, Dr. Dheeraj, and thank you,
Thank you,
NMA.
Mr. Anyone else wants to ask something or make an observation?
Okay, sir. Thank you then, everyone.
Okay, then, yeah. Thank you very much, Dheeraj, for this
My pleasure.
excellent presentation. And we would look forward to have more such programs for LMA. Thank you, Dheeraj. And thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Take care.